How about it, you creeps, you lunatics, mental defective?
Spend some time alone. Understand that soon you're on with better men. Alone again.
Hello, kids. Welcome to a series of tutorial videos about a group of airplanes that have become a phenomenon in so far not the worst session MMO game yet. We present to your attention a series of IL attack aircraft, which means idiot liquidator, and now we will explain why. This monster, called the Black Death by the German troops, was legendary, and you will realize that it applies not only in close air support, but to air superiority as well. ILs are the ultimate predators. In recent years, the effect has been amplified by the blurred to zero average player skill. So, what's so special about this aircraft, and what does the phenomenon ILs mean to the people? First of all, armament. Cannons are more akin to a mace, and shkars are akin to your digging stick. As a bonus, a gunner for shooting down harassers. Second, maneuverability, with skillful use of thrust, flaps, and a cheetah pitch control. Third, survivability of the airframe itself, which allows it to hold out under enemy fire. As a result, we get excellent realization of target acquisition at the expense of firepower and thrust-to-weight ratio, coupled with additional hit points. This ratio of basic fighter characteristics puts ILs on par with examples of imbalanced motherfuckers like the P-47. The first thing to do is to customize the armament in modifications. We take shkas, stealth, so as not to interfere with aiming properly, focusing on the tracer shells of the cannons. Schwack, trasses, little use against ground targets, but more than compensates by splitting planes into atoms. Then we take VIR-23. Armored targets allows you to destroy not only airborne, but also armored ground targets. NS-23. Armored targets or air targets, the choice is yours. Slightly more effective than VIR-23. Lastly, we take gunner's shell, UBT, armored targets. Only BS-41 with a ceramic metal core has the effect of an annihilator gun. BT-20, air targets, excellent stuffing, and enabling one-shots of both pilot or the structure of the enemy aircraft. The presence of bombs is considered heresy. Let's clarify some nuances regarding frontal attacks. Use collision when converging. Categorically, do not go towards two or more targets with the same distance to us. We cannot shoot at multiple targets at the same time while they can. Do not delay the time of fire contact with the mass of enemy aircraft. It is fraught with the fact that they still aim and hit. Besides, our fighter is not small. Use the smoke from your wings to disorient enemies. Try to avoid enemies you have shot down. Also, most important, when converging with a group of enemy targets, never leave more targets behind you than you see in front of you. If you get carried away, there is a danger of letting your enemies get to your most precious asset, your ass. Take care of your chastity. One final piece of advice: always, we emphasize twice, always, mentally draw the trajectory of the enemy target according to the position of its wings. After all, this element of the airplane design tells the fighter what the opponent will do. Now let's talk about the priority of targets who should be destroyed first. Based on the assumption that enemy fighters will fall after you, you need to follow the boom-zoom rule, kill the most maneuverable enemies first, so that they don't create unnecessary headaches later. Tactical application. Everything is logically explainable, and in our reviews we will try to bring you to the point of understanding both the application and the advantages of the following techniques. Based on the information presented earlier, we determined that this Flugzeug should be used as a RAM-type attacker. The effect can be enhanced by playing a squad of idiot liquidators. An important note, this information is more relevant for early models, due to objective reasons related primarily to the smaller difference in flight characteristics compared to same-rated fighters. This means that we must utilize our firepower advantage in a frontal engagements with a group of enemies when we choose targets, followed by a short fistfight while the enemy has not yet gained altitude and speed. This also means that the best case use of this device is only possible in a Zerg Rush attack on the not yet dispersed mass of enemy targets at the beginning of the battle. Timing is extremely important. Also note an important detail: any serious mistake will be a direct route to the hangar. Let's also clarify the point of usefulness of such rush attacks at the beginning of the battle. The crowd of enemy fighters at the subconscious level will regard you as an existential threat and will not use the opportunity to follow you into battle, thus stopping the altitude gain. You are essentially a battering ram, opening the gates for your team to destroy the enemy at low and medium altitudes, preventing the mass of the enemy team from using boom zoom. Now the high altitude strike tactic will already be used against them. Once you lose altitude, you risk never climbing again. So even if you get shot down, after taking a few more kills to Valhalla, the team will be able to take advantage. There is an exception. On large maps, this tactic may fail with slightly less than full probability, simply because the enemy will have time to gain altitude. You don't have to play crazy daredevil. You can simply hunt crabs. This means intercepting enemy attackers busy eating allied ground targets. But it is much more interesting and productive to try yourself as a matchmaker. This is an atypical method, but often much more rich in victories. The most interesting usually happens at the end of the battle, when due to the accumulated tension, the air becomes harder than stone. It is necessary to carefully select the most experienced opponents, checking their player cards, check only index of destroyed player vehicles to the battles. This tactic is based on cold calculation and waiting. In general, there are many options for the development of the battle in such cases, and our advice to you is to stay alive as long as possible, because being dead, you will not able to affect a result. Then, depending on the situation, to cut into the dogfight, or focusing on the advantage strip of the team, to go to destroy enemy ground targets, always leaving a dozen other rounds for the guest, who may succumb to our provocation. So try it out, comrades.